So I've been digging through this mountain of higher education data for the past week, and honestly, what I'm seeing is kind of blowing my mind. We're not just talking about AI helping with homework anymore. This is fundamentally reshaping how learning happens in universities. Wait, what do you mean? Because from where I'm sitting as a CS senior, it feels like most of my professors are still figuring out whether ChatGPT is allowed in assignments or not. That's exactly the tension I'm seeing. There's this incredible disconnect between what the research shows is possible and what's actually happening in classrooms. I just finished reading this study about AI tutoring that actually outperformed traditional in-class active learning methods. Not supplemented, outperformed.
As someone who spent 15 years in the classroom before moving to EdTech, that both excites and terrifies me. When you say outperformed, what are we talking about?
The students using AI tutors showed deeper conceptual understanding and better problem-solving skills. But here's what's really interesting. It wasn't just about the AI being available, it was about how it was integrated into the learning process. That tracks with my experience. In my algorithms class, we started using this AI-powered coding assistant, and at first everyone thought it would just give us answers. But the way our professor set it up, it actually made us think harder about our approach.
Joining the conversation. Sorry, I couldn't help but overhear. I'm dealing with exactly this challenge at my institution. We have faculty who are embracing these tools and others who see them as an existential threat to education itself.
Dr. Sarah, perfect timing, because that's the core tension I'm finding in the data. Innovation versus tradition isn't just a philosophical debate anymore. It's playing out in real time with real consequences for students.
But isn't that always how education evolves? I remember when graphing calculators were controversial, or Wikipedia. The difference now is the speed of change.
You're right, but this feels qualitatively different. One study I came across, it's called CASTLE, looked at how we ensure these AI systems are actually safe and appropriate for different student populations. We're not just asking, does this work, but does this work ethically and equitably? That's huge. In my machine learning ethics course, we talked about bias in AI systems, but I hadn't thought about how that applies specifically to education. Like, what if an AI tutor works great for students who already have strong foundations, but leaves struggling students even further behind?
That's exactly what keeps me up at night. We're under pressure to innovate, to show we're not falling behind, but we also have a responsibility to every student who walks through our doors.
And the data suggests that responsibility is getting more complex. There's this fascinating paper about LLM reasoning that shows these systems can actually predict when they're giving correct answers versus when they might be hallucinating or making errors.
So they're becoming self-aware of their limitations.
In a way, yes. But here's where it gets interesting for education. This means we could potentially build systems that know when to defer to human instructors or flag uncertainty for students. That would be game-changing for computer science education. Half the battle in coding is knowing when your solution might be wrong and where to look for bugs. Exactly. There's another study about automated code evaluation that found something they called the compliance paradox. Students were following the technical requirements perfectly, but missing the deeper learning objectives.
We see this all the time, even without AI, students optimizing for grades rather than understanding.
But doesn't AI make that worse? If students can just prompt their way to a correct answer?
That's what I thought too. But the research suggests it depends entirely on implementation. When AI tools are designed to guide exploration rather than provide answers, they actually enhance critical thinking. I've experienced both sides of this. In one class, the AI tool basically did our homework for us. In another, it was more like a Socratic dialogue partner that kept asking why and what if until we really understood the concept. That Socratic approach keeps coming up in the successful implementations. There's this French study, Vers une symbiose pédagogique humaine-IA, that talks about human-AI symbiosis in teaching, not replacement, but partnership.
Partnership sounds great in theory, but the practical challenges are immense. Faculty need training, we need infrastructure, and we need to completely rethink assessment methods.
And let's be honest, not all institutions have the resources for this. When I was teaching at a community college in Guatemala, we were still struggling to get reliable internet.
The equity issue is massive. The data shows a widening gap between institutions that can afford to experiment and those that can't. It's creating a new kind of digital divide in higher education. Even within wealthy universities, there's disparity. The computer science department has all these cutting-edge tools, but my friend in the history department says they're still debating whether to allow spell check on essays. That disciplinary divide is real. STEM fields are adapting faster, partly because the tools align more naturally with their content. But I'm seeing innovative applications in humanities too. AI helping with language learning, historical analysis, even creative writing workshops.
The language learning applications fascinate me. When I was teaching Spanish, the biggest challenge was giving students enough conversational practice. Now there are AI tutors that can hold conversations in any language, at any level.
But can they teach cultural nuance? The unspoken rules of communication? That's where I worry we're losing something essential.
The best systems acknowledge those limitations. They're designed as supplements, not replacements. One professor I interviewed uses AI for grammar and vocabulary practice, but reserves class time for cultural immersion and authentic communication. That seems like the sweet spot, using AI to handle the routine stuff so humans can focus on the uniquely human aspects of teaching and learning. But here's what's troubling me. The data shows that many institutions are making decisions about AI based on fear or hype rather than evidence. They're either banning everything or buying every shiny new tool without a clear pedagogical strategy.
That's education's eternal struggle, isn't it? We're always chasing the next big thing without fully understanding the last one.
The pressure comes from all sides. Students expect us to be cutting edge, parents want traditional rigor, accreditors need measurable outcomes, and faculty just want to teach effectively.
Speaking of effectiveness, one of the most compelling findings is about personalization. AI systems can adapt to individual learning styles and paces in ways that even the best human teacher can't manage for 30 students simultaneously. I've seen this firsthand. I have ADHD, and the AI tutor I use can break down complex problems into smaller chunks when it detects I'm struggling. It's like having a personal tutor who never gets frustrated or runs out of patience.
That's powerful, but it also raises questions about data privacy. These systems need to collect a lot of information about students to personalize effectively.
The Castle benchmark specifically addresses this. It evaluates whether AI systems can provide personalized support while maintaining student privacy and safety. It's not just about academic performance anymore.
We're having to become data governance experts on top of everything else. Last month, I spent more time in meetings about AI ethics policies than academic planning.
But isn't that time well spent? The decisions you're making now will shape how the next generation learns. From a student perspective, I wish more administrators understood that we're not just passive recipients of these technologies. We're actively shaping how they're used. My classmates and I have figured out ways to use AI tools that our professors never imagined.
That generational intuition is valuable. When I was teaching, my students often showed me new ways to use technology that enhanced rather than undermined learning.
That collaborative discovery is showing up in the research too. The most successful AI implementations involve students as co-designers, not just users.
We're trying to do more of that, but it requires a cultural shift. Faculty aren't used to seeing students as partners in pedagogical innovation.
Yet the data suggests that's exactly what works. There's this fascinating pattern where classes that involve students in decisions about AI use show better outcomes across the board: engagement, retention, and actual learning. It makes sense. When we have a say in how tools are used, we're more invested in using them well.
But how do you scale that? Individual professors might embrace student partnership, but institutional change is glacial.
That's the million-dollar question. The research points to pilot programs as a starting point, Small experiments that can demonstrate value before rolling out broadly.
We're running several pilots now. The challenge is translating successful experiments into systematic change. What works in one department might fail spectacularly in another.
Context matters enormously. The coding classroom study I mentioned earlier found that the effectiveness of AI tools depended heavily on the specific learning objectives and student populations. That resonates. In my web development class, AI tools are incredible for rapid prototyping. But in my theoretical computer science class, they can actually hinder deep mathematical thinking if used wrong.
So we're back to the fundamental question of pedagogical design. It's not about the tool, it's about how we use it.
Exactly, and that's what gives me hope. The research consistently shows that thoughtful integration beats both wholesale adoption and complete rejection.
But thoughtful integration takes time, resources, and expertise that many institutions lack. We're asking faculty to become learning engineers overnight.
True, but I'm also seeing innovative support models emerging. Some universities are creating centers for teaching innovation where faculty can experiment safely and get support.
That community of practice approach worked well in K-12. Teachers teaching teachers is powerful.
We need something similar for students. Peer learning about effective AI use is happening informally, but imagine if it were structured and supported. Some institutions are doing exactly that, training student AI ambassadors who can help their peers use these tools ethically and effectively.
The ethical dimension can't be overstated. We're not just teaching subject matter anymore, we're teaching responsible technology use.
And the research suggests that's not optional. Studies show that students who understand the limitations and ethical implications of AI tools use them more effectively for actual learning.
It's like teaching source evaluation in the internet age. Critical thinking about tools becomes part of the curriculum itself.
My professor calls it AI literacy, understanding not just how to use these tools, but when and why to use them, or not use them. That literacy framework is gaining traction. It reframes the conversation from should we allow AI to how do we teach with and about AI.
Which requires faculty to develop that literacy first. We're asking a lot of educators who are already stretched thin.
But isn't that always true of meaningful educational change? The shift to project-based learning, collaborative methods, active learning, they all required similar adaptations.
The difference is the speed. Previous pedagogical shifts happened over decades. This is happening in semesters. And each semester brings new capabilities. The AI tools I used as a freshman are already outdated. How do educators keep up? The successful institutions focus on principles rather than specific tools. They teach critical evaluation, ethical use, and learning strategies that transcend particular technologies.
That's our approach, but it's easier said than done. Faculty want concrete guidance, not abstract principles.
Maybe that's where the symbiosis model helps. Instead of replacing human judgment, AI becomes a partner in navigating complexity.
The French study emphasized exactly that, viewing AI as an augmentation of human teaching rather than a substitute for it. From a student perspective, the best learning experiences combine both. AI for personalized practice and feedback, humans for motivation, context, and the unexpected connections that make learning memorable. That combination shows up consistently in the data. Pure AI instruction underperforms hybrid models that thoughtfully blend human and artificial intelligence.
Which brings us back to institutional transformation. We need new models for course design, new job descriptions, new support structures.
And new definitions of success. If AI can grade essays and solve equations, what are we actually assessing?
Critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication, the skills that remain uniquely human, at least for now. But even those are being augmented. I use AI to help brainstorm creative solutions, then apply human judgment to refine and implement them. That iterative process, AI-assisted but human-directed, might be the future of higher education. Not replacement, but enhancement.
If we can get there without losing what makes education transformative, the human connections, the aha moments, the personal growth.
Those elements become more precious when routine tasks are automated. Teachers can focus on what they do best: inspire, guide, and challenge.
The data supports that optimistic view, but only when institutions approach change thoughtfully. Rush to adopt or reflexively resist, and you miss the opportunity for genuine transformation. As someone living through this transformation, I'm cautiously optimistic. The tools are powerful, but they're still just tools. The learning happens in how we use them, and that's perhaps the most important finding. Successful integration depends more on pedagogical wisdom than technological sophistication.
Which gives me hope. Good teaching has always been about meeting students where they are and helping them grow. The tools change, but that mission remains constant.
So where do we go from here? What do educators need to know as they navigate this transition?
Start small, measure impact, involve students, and never lose sight of learning objectives. The institutions seeing success share those characteristics. And remember that students want to learn, not just get grades. Give us tools that enhance genuine understanding, and we'll rise to the challenge.
The path forward isn't easy, but it's becoming clearer. Evidence-based adoption grounded in pedagogical principles with human judgment at the center.
That's the story emerging from the data, not a race between human and artificial intelligence, but a journey toward more effective, equitable, and engaging education. The Dimension Derby isn't about picking winners and losers. It's about finding the right blend for each context.
And recognizing that this blend will keep evolving. What works today might need adjustment tomorrow.
But if we stay focused on actual learning rather than just technology adoption, we'll navigate the changes successfully. The research certainly suggests that's true. Institutions that keep student learning at the center, that see technology as a means rather than an end, are the ones thriving in this new landscape.